one town. Don't have someone saying they seen something they can't explain.
You're right about most things, but you're wrong about one thing. You are enough for me, Abby.
Do you think I'm being punished? I've heard him every day. But he keeps coming back.
Someone expired in the ICU. The coroner just left. I have another idea. Well, look at you taking initiative. I like my initiative too.
What is happening? I don't know why this is so, it's so dirty. How embarrassing. 12-hour shift is about a group of nurses who are selling organs on the black market, and things go awry over the course of one night, one 12-hour shift, and it takes place in 1999 in Arkansas in the United States. Angela Bettis, I've been a fan of for a very long time, and we reached out to her and she agreed to do it. The role was written for someone my age or someone maybe a little bit younger, and we kind of rewrote the role to shape it for her, and I just think she did such an amazing job. I can't even imagine the movie without her. I can't think of anyone else in that role now. And David Arquette came on very early as a producer on the movie. So when we got greenlit, he was basically like, what role do you want me to play? So that's how we ended up with those two. And almost everyone else was just either on audition that we saw through casting tapes, or people I'd worked with previously. So Kit Williamson is someone I collaborate with quite a bit, who plays the officer. Brooke Sagan was someone I've worked with in the past as well, plays one of the nurses. So it's sort of a mix. Chloe Farnworth, I just found on tape. Like, she was one of the first tapes that we saw for the role of Regina. And after we saw her tape, we were like, no one else can play this role. Like, she was so good. And she's British, she's not American, and she just does such an amazing job of really capturing the specific time period and the specific accent and that world. So yeah, I think we just got really lucky. I mean, there's so many great actors, I think, right now, and such a wide range of actors, and that movie allowed me to really play with different kinds of people and put different kinds of actors that you might not normally see on screen. So I just feel like, yeah, we just had the greatest time getting the cast together for that movie. At this point, I'm enjoying writing and directing more, but I'm still doing some acting. There are certain things I think I'm a better fit as a writer for, and there are certain things I think I'm a better fit as a director, and then somewhere I can do both. So it just depends project to project. Like on Lucky, I think it worked out best that Natasha directed it, and I'm writing something else for her to direct right now. But then I'm working on things for myself to direct, or I just directed a movie that I didn't write. So it sort of depends on the project and how much time I have. and what it seems like it calls for. I feel like I'm learning my strengths, and I try to lean into those. There was a time when I thought about being in 12-hour shift. I thought about playing the main role, but I think just because I was trying to shift away from acting as much and trying to focus on directing, I wanted to really make sure that I would be able to fit all the pieces and give 12-hour shift its due, because it's just, there's so much happening in that movie, and I just didn't think I could do it all. It was really interesting. I mean, it was a strange character because I'm mostly there just for flashbacks. So it was interesting because I wasn't there the whole time they were shooting. I kind of came in later, but it was great. It was really fun. I really like working with those guys. I think they're just real artists, and they took it really seriously. They made me jump through hoops to get that role. I read the script and I was like, I really, really want to do this. Like, can I come out and do this in Florida? They shot in Florida, like in the summer. It was very hot. And they were like, well, you have to audition. So then I sent in an audition, but I actually recorded the whole monologue. There's this huge monologue in the movie for people who haven't seen it. I was like, well, if you're going to make me audition, I'm going to show you that this is my role. And so I recorded the whole monologue, which they did not ask for. And I think that was kind of what won me the role at the end. I feel like in the last 5 years, more and more people have told me they really liked the movie. Like, people started revisiting it and realizing that it's really an interesting movie. It really kind of leaves the Halloween genre on a little bit. Like, it starts in a sort of traditional way, and then I think really explores Laurie's psyche, and like you get to sort of see what it would actually be like someone who experienced that trauma. I just think it's a really interesting movie. I think it was wonderful to be a part of. It was my first horror movie really that I had done after I did a role on a show called Heroes, and then I did that right after that. And it was great because the fan base, I realized how nice horror fans were, and I realized that making horror movies are really fun. And I'm sort of just honored to be a part of that legacy of Halloween. Yeah, I started writing comics back in about 2008. My first series I did with my brother, sort of a zombie series set in the 1920s. And I kept writing after that. And I took a long break from it. But I just released another graphic novel that I wrote called Mary, about a descendant of Mary Shelley. And it's sort of a YA sci-fi graphic novel. I love working in comics. The funny thing about the great thing about comics is that you don't need a huge budget to make them. So with a movie, you can write, in the comic I just did, there's this giant Loch Ness monster and it throws someone and it's huge and all this magical stuff happens. And that'd be very expensive to make in a movie. And I would have to, try to get funding and it would not ever happen. But in a comic, you can kind of go as big as you want and really be creative. So it's one of the only mediums I think you can actually control what the output is, and whether or not you can afford it, which is really nice. I love the world. I read a lot of comics, so it's just a fun place for me to get to be creative in. I was a teenager in the 90s. So, I was around when Scream came out. I saw that in the theater opening weekend. So I was there for that sort of horror renaissance. But even before that, I was always renting horror movies with my teenage girlfriends and stuff. So it's just always been sort of a part of my life. And I have an older brother. I think my very first experience with horror was that television show, Are You Afraid of the Dark? That was like a show for kids, but it was scary. I thought it was very scary. And then the movie Tremors, that was like a big one for me. I remember watching it when I was way too young and being very scared of that movie. Because I'm from Texas, I'm from kind of the middle of nowhere. So that movie really spoke to me and I was very scared. Kevin Bacon, so good. You realize why he became a movie star. Like that movie it was a good movie, but like he made it into like a different something else. And it's so charming. And a lot of the horror takes place during the day, which, obviously Midsummer just did, but it never happened. So like, it's very, very impressive that it's such a scary movie, but so much of it is in broad daylight, and it's scary and it's not in the middle of the night. It's just like, there's so many, I rewatched it again during, quarantine, and I was just like, this movie's so brilliant. But then there were all these scary movies when I was growing up. There was Return to Oz and The Dark Crystal and all these sort of movies, and Labyrinth, these movies that were not quite horror, but they were horror adjacent. And I think that stuff really, it planted the seed, and I've never escaped ever since. Now I'm just into horror and genre movies. 28 Days Later is one that I think really influenced me. But then there's all these new ones that I've really grown to love and really think are super special. So I have so much trouble with that question. In post now for this movie. It comes out next year. I haven't described it yet. It's set in Nashville, and it's about two up-and-coming country singers who go to this sort of legendary country singer's house, like someone in the vein of like Dolly Parton level famous, and they ask her to do a song with them, and then things go very badly. It's sort of a mix between like Misery and Grey Gardens, but with like way more, I like music, I like a sense of humor, so way more of that, like with a sense of humor maybe. Stars Katie Sagal, she's amazing, and then Sheila Fernandez is in it, and so is Joshua Leonard, so like some really cool horror folks are in it. And then the other two leads are Alexis Lemire and Abby Quinn. So they're both kind of up and coming, and they're very great. They're both gonna be stars. They're gonna be the Kevin Bacon. But they're great, and I think the movie will be really cool. I just shot it in New Orleans and wrapped 2 weeks ago, I think. I think I have enough. I don't. No, I mean, I do a podcast every week about books. I'm a big reader, so people can check out my podcast called Reading Glasses with Mallory O'Mara, who's a horror writer. She writes horror nonfiction. And yeah, go watch the movies. Go watch these movies. Have yourself a Brea Grant night. Oh, and the stylist. You should see this. People should see the stylist.
It's almost like having a family.
Are you okay?
What are you